Welcome back. President Trump is still licking his proverbial wounds after the stunning defeat of his health care bill at the hands of his own party, and he is pinning the blame squarely upon the Freedom Caucus, a group of hardcore conservatives in the House of Representatives. The president tweeting, quote, "The Freedom Caucus will hurt the entire Republican agenda if they don't get on the team and fast. We must fight them and Dems in 2018. So will the president's threats work? Let's ask a top member of the Freedom Caucus who has been singled out by President Trump. Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio joins me now from the great city of Columbus. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
You bet. Good to be with you, Jake.
So, Congressman, President Trump, as I don't need to tell you, is blaming you and two of your colleagues in the Freedom Caucus for the health care debacle. He tweeted, quote, "If Representatives Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan, and Raul Labrador would get on board, we would have both great health care and massive tax cuts and reform." The president seems to be placing the blame squarely on your shoulders. Is that fair?
Jake, tweets and statements and blame don't change facts, and the facts remain the same. When you look at the document, you look at the legislation, it doesn't repeal Obamacare. Even people who support it have called it Obamacare light. Doesn't bring down premiums. Even the CBO said premiums are going to rise for the next 3.5 years. And certainly it doesn't unite Republicans, as evidenced by the fact you got conservatives and moderates who are opposed to the legislation. And it doesn't unite the country. When have you seen a bill come forward where only 17% of the country supports it? So let's do better than that. Let's start over. Let's get this thing done right. And let's keep our promises with the American people.
Dan Scavino, who is President Trump's social media director at the White House, over the weekend urged the defeat of one of your colleagues in the Freedom Caucus. He tweeted, quote, "Donald Trump is bringing auto plants and jobs back to Michigan. Justin Amash," that's a Freedom Caucus member who is also a Republican from Michigan, "is a big liability. Trump train, defeat him in primary." Congressman Jordan, that's the White House saying that your Freedom Caucus colleague, Justin Amash, should be primaried, should lose his job. What's your response?
Justin Amash is a good friend and one of the most principled members of Congress. And frankly, if he is primaried, I'm going to do everything I can to help him. But what concerns me more than this threat of primaries is keeping our word with the American people. And as I said, you would think even Congress should be able to put together a piece of legislation that more than 17% of our fellow citizens like. And maybe one of the things we should learn from this, Jake, is this process was deeply flawed in my judgment. Good process leads to good policy, which I think translates into good politics. That didn't happen here, again, as evidenced by the fact no one in the country likes this bill. So maybe instead of hiding the bill away, rolling it out 4 weeks ago, having hearings where there are no witnesses who actually testify, where there are no amendments allowed to be offered, no amendments accepted, maybe we need to do the process right, and maybe if we do, we'll develop a product that more than 17% of the country actually approves of. So let's do it that way. Why not actually have doctors come in and testify, maybe hospitals testify, or maybe just some regular American families who this bill is going to impact? Why not have that kind of process take place, and we'll get to a better process? And that's the kind of thing that Justin Amash and other members of the Freedom Caucus think need to happen.
Well, let me show you how Congressman Amash responded. He tweeted, quote, "Trump administration and establishment have merged into Trump-stablishment. Same old agenda, attack conservatives, libertarians, and independent thinkers." Do you agree with Congressman Amash? Has the Trump administration merged into the same old establishment?
I think Justin Amash, as I said before, is a good friend and someone I'm going to help if he has a primary. But what I also understand is look at the four corners of the document. Look at the actual legislation. Read the legislation and understand what it does and doesn't do. It doesn't bring down premiums. Every health care policy expert will tell you that. It doesn't do that. Even CBO said it doesn't do that. So let's take a pause here. Sometimes I think we're getting all spun up. The sun's coming up tomorrow. Things will be okay. It's just a delay in doing this legislation. Even the president said we can get a better bill after it was postponed a week ago. So let's do that. Let's put together a better piece of legislation that keeps our word with the American people. That's my focus. That's Justin Amash's focus. That's the focus of the Freedom Caucus. That's what the election in 2010, 2014, and 2016 was about. So let's do that.
That's your focus now, sir. But with all due respect, if 1 year from today, you and Congressman Amash and Mark Meadows and Raul Labrador and all the other members of the Freedom Caucus are facing primary challenges from Trump-supported candidates, then you're not going to be able to focus on defeating on all the things you want to accomplish for the American people. You're going to have to focus on these threats that are coming directly from the White House.
Jake, you know, competition is fine. I've never shied away from competition. If that's what happens, that's what happens. That'll be up to the voters in each of those respective districts. In my case, it'll be up to the good families who I get the privilege of serving in the 4th District of Ohio. But what I do know is what we told the American people, and that is our focus. That will continue to be our focus. Let's do that. Let's work with the White House where we can to get that accomplished. Let's work with all our colleagues. Frankly, I'm willing to work with Democrats if they're willing to do what we told the voters we're going to do. If it's consistent with what that election was about and what I told the people in the 4th District I was going to go fight for them for. If it's consistent with that, let's do it. But let's focus on that. We make this job way too complicated. Our job is to do what we told the voters we were going to do when they gave us the privilege to serve. That's my focus, and that's the focus of Justin Amash and anyone else in the Freedom Caucus.
Speaker Ryan said this week that if you, quote, let the perfect become the enemy of the good, you'll push the president into working with Democrats. Does any part of Speaker Ryan's expression of concern make you worried
Jake,
at all that this will ultimately
Jake,
become a more liberal bill?
Jake, since when did good get defined as 17% approval rating? Come on. As I said before, even Congress should be able to do something better than a piece of legislation where only 17% of our fellow citizens think it should pass. That should tell us something. Maybe we need to actually do the process right, as I said before, and actually let people come in and testify on the legislation. Maybe we would put together something better that's consistent with what we told them we were going to do when they elected us on November 8th, 2016.
Congressman Jim Jordan of the great state of Ohio, we appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.